please people realise I'm being a little bit facetious here. I think I invented the travel vlog. I think I did the first one ever.
Go on.
So it was 1989.
Welcome to Creative Catalyst, the show that will help inspire you through conversation with creative people telling their stories and how it shaped their career. I'm your host, Chris Campbell, and in today's episode, we are joined by a travel YouTuber who's had over 8 million views on the platform. His 80,000 subscribers have watched him travel to places like Malta and Japan, but also showcase his favourite places to visit in his hometown of London. His name is Paul Taylor, aka Suitcase Monkey. In today's episode, we dive into his outlook on filmmaking, how it all started for him as a kid making a travel movie, and the people on the platform that inspire him. If you want to find him on social media, he is Suitcase Monkey on YouTube, Instagram, and all other platforms you can find. Paul Taylor.
Hello.
Suitcase Monkey.
Yes.
You have brought with you today your quote, which is something that you found a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that quote to everyone?
Yeah, so the quote is, and this, I think it's good for all creators to know that other people are going through this as well. So the quote is, there's 5 stages of a creative project. The first one is, this is great. The second one is, this is hard. The next one is, this is shit. The fourth one is, I am shit. And then the fifth one is, actually, it was all right.
And how did you find that? And why did you think it kind of resonated with you?
Well, I think, being British, I assume everything I do is rubbish.
Right.
So I think it's good to know that if you're going through the problem period, just work through it and everything will be all right at the end of it.
I think it's so key for any creative that you're always going to be questioning yourself. You're always going to be questioning if you're making the right decisions. But actually, just going with your gut, which I think is something we're going to dive into with you, is what you've done for your whole career. I think that gut feeling usually ends up being the correct way of doing it anyway.
Yeah, everything. So the stuff we'll talk about, everything. Looking back, I can see how there's like things that I've done that I can go, oh, that was the right choice. But none of it has been done by design. And even now, I'm still basically going off my gut. And I don't necessarily have any master plan that I'm working to.
Do you want to explain to everyone what you do?
Yeah, so I have a travel YouTube channel called Suitcase Monkey. It's effectively, it's me and my wife, basically, Chiaki, going on holiday. And I film that. And then I do... Now, I'm sure this is wrong. There's millions of things that go up on YouTube, so I've obviously not seen it all. But I have not found another travel YouTube channel that makes videos quite how I make travel videos. That might be because I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah,
there's a very good chance it's because I am doing it wrong. But it's first thing, I'm not filming myself, which is obviously one of the kind of staples that people do. The idea, my mantra internally was more travel, less bullshit. I wanted to film the place, talk about the history, talk about tips, tricks, and just generally like, this is what this place is like from an inspirational point of view. And people might go, oh, I never thought about that, but now actually you maybe want to go there. So that's kind of the vibe of the channel. It's sort of a documentary travel channel, I guess.
And is that something you always gravitated towards, even from the beginning?
Again, like looking back, going right back to when I was a kid. Do you want me to do the origin story now? Is that the time?
Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
So again, like none of this was pre-planned, but looking back, I can see how I've kind of come to this point. So again, I don't think this is true what I'm about to say.
We've had 2 very bold statements within the first minute and a half of this podcast, but I like it.
So please, people, realise I'm being a little bit facetious here. I think I invented the travel vlog. I think I did the first one ever.
Go on.
So it was 1989.
Yeah.
So my family got a camera. We were in Florida. Me and my brother, we would just film it. But it was like a proper camera. It was like a foot long camera. I think it was a Sony, if I remember correctly.
Quite heavy.
Yeah. Tape, obviously tape and everything. And that was at 1989, and when we would just film our holidays basically. And those are in the days, and even old people do this now. When you're filming something, right? Actually, my wife does this as well. I'm sorry. You just press record, right? And then like 3 minutes later, you stop hitting record. so there was a lot of long scenes basically because editing didn't exist in those days, and also I think it was just a camera was amazing, right? That you had a camera in the
capture
house.
Everything.
It's like, wow, look at this. But then in 1994, I would have been like 12, 13 at the time. I made like my first proper travel vlog. It was 3 hours long, which is still one of my staples to this day. I've released a couple of videos that are like pushing 40 minutes. I see them as mini movies, basically. I don't just see them as throwaway vlogs. I think maybe something else to explain to people who haven't seen my stuff is like last year I released about 10 videos in the whole year. So it's not like I'm just kind of pushing stuff out all the time. And so I take a long time, sometimes 4, 5, 6 weeks to edit a video, basically. So in 94 I went to California. We did a whole Hollywood and all that stuff, then went up to San Francisco, and so that was the first time that kind of me on my own I was making a travel video with my family, obviously, but it was me who was like filming it, and then I would edit it later. So this is obviously, I say, pre-digital totally, so I was just editing tape to tape. It was like play and record, and you're putting it from one tape to the next. And if you made any incorrect edits or anything, you had to rewind the tape. Obviously, it wasn't frame by frame like you can go now, so you'd have to kind of chop off a couple of seconds of the previous take to be able to literally override whatever you had on top of it. And we went to Alcatraz, and there was, you have those audio guides that you have. As you go
it's normally the phone that you hold to the side of your head.
Yeah, so I think they gave us like a Walkman, I think it was at the time.
Sweet.
You're just walking around with the headphones on. But in the shop afterwards, you could buy the audio cassette of the audio tour. So we bought that, and then when I was editing it, I had about 20 minutes of footage, and then I basically cut the audio down to match the footage that I'd shot. And this was like stories from the guards, stories from inmates, and all that kind of stuff. So again, the way I was doing this is I was just pressing play on the tape. It was coming out my speaker. I was holding a live mic up to it, and if I coughed, then the cough was on the take. And then I just kind of cut together this like 20-minute little thing about Alcatraz, which is insane. Like I say, I was 12. There was no editing stuff out there at all.
Were any of your friends doing this?
No.
Or was this just like your little passion project you were doing at home?
Yeah. I mean, and we made like little movies and stuff like that, just, as I suppose kids might do, just sort of messing around and stuff, but not things like that. Because that took a long, as I say, it was 3 hours. It took a long time. And the music, again, nowadays, YouTube have their own music stuff, audio library you can go to, and there's different companies you can kind of subscribe to and get rights-free music and stuff like that. In those days, that didn't exist. So all of my music, my soundtrack, was songs from Jurassic Park, because I had the cassette tape of Jurassic Park, and this was at a time when Sky was still a relatively new thing. I think Sky was like 1989, 90, something like that, when it came out in the UK. And around this time, they were pushing a lot more channels. So they had a lot of channels like Sky, you had like Sky Movies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
But a lot of those channels, it was either before they launched, or when they did launch, but they weren't 24 hours. So there's a lot of times where it would just have hold music just playing, and it was like orchestral stuff.
Yeah.
So again, I live mic recorded the music coming out of the television, and then I would stick that on top of the video. Which is crazy.
There's so many layers to this, Paul.
It's crazy.
It's incredible.
So that was that, and then that was just in isolation. I did that, and then that was great. But then I think I went to drama school. I studied to be an actor, and I think that's where a lot of my stuff comes from today. As I say, it's not like a true vlog, and I'm not walking around the camera in my face going, "Oh, hey guys, here we are." Like, well, we'll get onto this later. Like things that
I'm not that guy.
How I got my. It was more about things I didn't like on YouTube that made me kind of want to rebel and do something different. But yeah, there's none of that. So it's stuff that I got from my theatre days was telling a story, emotion, pacing, all that type of stuff. So I suppose I got that from there. So again, looking back, I can kind of see how these different things came about, and then when I started to edit stuff, like I bought my first Mac in 2011, and I had an analog tape recorder, and I went to Japan in 2011, went to Disney World in 2012, and filmed those, and they were both about 90 minutes each. Again, like, I'm bringing it down from the 3 hours, but it's still quite long. I edited that. I enjoyed the process of editing. That's probably my favorite part of the whole thing. Like, we've got all this stuff. The problem with being a director in theatre is you've got actors, and they can do it wrong sometimes. so
you're like, oh, damn it!
You are God, basically, as the director. It's great. It's great for people who have some control issues.
Yeah.
So I would. I thought, right, well, I'm going on holiday. That'll be interesting footage. So I was really just filming the holiday, because I just wanted to go through the process of editing something and kind of enjoy putting that together. So I did that. There was no branding of Suitcase Monkey at that time. I think it was Paul Taylor Films, very imaginative name, copyright. And they got like a couple of thousand views each. And this is kind of before being a YouTuber was a thing, I guess. And then a few years after that, I went to Bali. It was like 2013, 14 or something. And I had my iPhone 5 at the time. And so I was like, I've now got iMovie. I've done a few of these things. I want to, maybe just try this again with a holiday, which would be quite good. And then I just filmed that. And that was about 45 minutes long. And that didn't, and again, I just put it out there because I just put it out there. I had no aspirations of becoming a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And after about 9 months, again, I just put I want. It's not. I'm not doing weekly videos. Right? I just put it out. After 9 months, suddenly, I don't know what happened. People just started watching it, and it's got. That video that I've taken that off the channel, so you can't see that now. But I think it's got like 200,000 or 300,000 views when I took it off, and that then about 2 or 3 years after that, that's when I was like, okay, maybe then I'll just do some more. And so then met my now wife, and we went to Kenya, which is that's the oldest video that's on the channel from like 2015 or about 16 maybe when we did that. So that's the first video on the channel, and that was shot on a 6S. And I still get people as recently as a few months ago, like people commenting on the Kenya video where they're like, "What camera are you filming on?" And that's my favorite question, because I'm like, dude, it's a 6S. And everyone's like, no way.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of, then I sort of did that, and then went to Disneyland Paris, and I did like reviews of the hotel that we stayed at, and like things to do in Disneyland Paris as an adult. Because I was kind of that's when I started to do the voiceover stuff, because the Kenya one was just like a straight, this is how I saw it through my eyes. With no voiceover. So that's probably the only video on the channel that doesn't really have a voiceover, which is kind of my thing now for those who haven't seen my stuff. I narrate over everything. So yes, it's a very slow pace, but it's Kenya, right? It's just like, let's look at this amazing scenery, and it kind of works in a nice, relaxing sense. With the Disney one, I had to start doing a voiceover because I've been copyrighted for the Disney World stuff I did in 2012, and so it was kind of banned in most places now. I was like, well, I can't have the Disney music on there because it won't show up basically on the internet. So I did a voiceover so I could just talk about it instead, and then I could just dip the music. And then that just kind of grew basically. And then it was only like Japan about 3 years ago, which has now just recently passed 1 million views. That was shot on a 6S as well. And that's 43 minutes, I think it is long. And so it's just kind of snowballed. And I had no aspirations of being a YouTuber, as I say. And I think for anyone who's looking to get into it, I think that's the difficulty, is that you should never, the goal should never be, I want to be a YouTuber. You should only make YouTube videos and put them out there like because you just want to do it and you enjoy the process. And if you can say to yourself, if you're still doing this in 3 years and you've got 5 subscribers and you got 10 views per video, if that makes you happy, then I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Because there's so much content out there that even if you're making the greatest video in the world, and I still, with some, moderate success, I still put out some videos. I'm like, I think this is a really good video. Better than some of the other stuff that I see, which has more views, objectively, of course. But as I say, I'm going against the grain. I'm not playing the real game of how you should do YouTube stuff, I guess. For example, with the Sri Lanka video that I did, I think that was shot on iPhone 10. I think by that point, I spent, because as well, I hate it when, and I'm sure I've probably done this at some point, but I hate it when people, again, if you're filming yourself in the moment, you're just like, I think this is how this place is pronounced, or I think this is when this place was built. And it's like, well, that's no good to me. Like, I need facts, right? I'm watching something, like, tell me the truth, right? And the good thing about me being able to do a voiceover is I can reflect on what it is, and then I can kind of tell the story, and I'll research everything. So with Sri Lanka, we flew into an airport in Sri Lanka, which has got about 20 letters in it, and I don't know how to pronounce it, right? It's a complex thing. And originally in the script, because I write a script, I was going to be like, oh, we landed at blah, blah, blah airport. I spent about 45 minutes trying to figure out how to say this bloody airport's name.
Yeah.
And there's not many things on the internet that tell you how to say an airport's name. And also sometimes when they do, it's like, well, you don't know. You just one person. Until I see it like 5 times, I don't know if they're correct. And I found this documentary on YouTube where someone said the name of the airport. So I spent 45 minutes on that. And then I got to the point when I was editing it together, I was like, actually, do you know what? I don't need that bit where I talk about the airport. So I cut it out. And the point is, like, sometimes with a lot of YouTubers, they can make a whole video in 45 minutes. And I'm spending 45 minutes to figure out how to say the name of an airport. And so I put in way too much work, time, energy, and effort that a lot of people, even like people who really like my stuff, you know, I, as an editor, any editors listening to this will kind of understand this, but you can spend an hour on 4 seconds that no one's going to see because, you know, it's on their phone while they're making a cheese sandwich or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I see them as mini movies. So I spend a long time on these things, which hopefully kind of comes through as a finished product. But that's one of the reasons why I'm doing YouTube wrong. Because I'm spending way too much time on these videos.
But I think it's interesting because I think it all lends into how you storytell. And how do you think it's so important? What do you think the importance is of storytelling, and how do you tell a story? Like, what's your process for that?
So I think especially for anything on the internet, pace is the number one thing that I'm always aware of. Typically, like if you're going to break down the stuff that I do, you know, you always want to start strong with kind of a strong intro, which is kind of telling people what's going on and what to expect. But then I really like to then kind of then dip into a slower pace and kind of slow things down a little bit so that you can kind of relax into it as the audience. And so I'm constantly aware of how does the pacing flow and how does one thing jump to the next. And sometimes I've had a little bit of artistic license where I've moved some things around. So I've taken them out of context in which the order in which they happened at, just because the flow didn't work right, or it's like this bit's not as funny and therefore I want to move that a bit further back because it's always good to get some jokes in at the start.
Yeah.
To kind of set the tone. I have some humor. I suppose that's one thing is we're not doing. You know, I have a little bit of a sort of English dry sense of humor, say things with a straight face kind of thing. So that's the thing as well. YouTubers, they're too happy. YouTubers are too. Again, it's like so. I suppose one of the ways that I created my style and the storytelling and stuff is that I would see people on YouTube and they're like, their opening bit, and I say these are videos with hundreds of thousands of views and millions of followers. So at the end of the day, you know, they're right. Yeah, I'm wrong. They're right.
They're doing it right.
So I'm giving them the respect. You know, they've figured it out. I'm doing it wrong. But if I see a video where I'm like, the first thing I click on is like, oh my God, we're in Barcelona. I'm like, you booked a ticket, you got on the plane. Why do you not think you're in Barcelona? Like, it's not like if you teleported, then oh my God, I'm in Barcelona. That's a reaction.
That's a big deal. That's
a reaction. I can't believe I'm in Barcelona. I was in Slough a minute ago, and now I'm in Barcelona. Oh my God. But when you're filming yourself, it's like, well, you know you're in Barcelona. Why are you so excited? So there's no excitement in my videos.
You're really selling it to everyone that
well, I won't give away the game away for maybe a question that you'll ask later on in terms of like who I really like as YouTubers. But the ones typically that I like are the ones who are just real. Do you know what I mean? And not just overexcited. And also like, I don't enjoy watching things where it's like, you shouldn't be having a better time than your audience.
Right.
That's one of my things.
Interesting.
When I see people having a really good time, or if I listen to a podcast,
Paul.
I think these are my issues. But if I listen to a podcast and they're loving it, I'm like, guys, rein it in. I need to be the one who's laughing here.
Yeah.
But I think these are
How are we friends? Because I feel like I'm a very positive guy and you must be there in the corner like, I freaking hate you, Chris.
I question it on a daily basis. But back to storytelling. Like I think, pace is my number one thing, and emotion, and kind of knowing when to joke. I write everything, so I will put jokes in, and quite often I will take them out. I probably take out more jokes than I leave in.
Right.
Chiaki's really good. She's like, you're the only one who finds that funny.
You're there losing it.
Yeah,
she's like, I just don't get it.
But it's like, again, if you're editing something, you watch it 1,000 times, right? And I had in my Barcelona video, which came out like just a week or so ago, about 3 or 4 minutes in, one of my favorite jokes I've ever done. It's a joke about Brexit. It's hilarious, right? Every time I listen to it, I go, that's funny. And I've had a few people comment on it as well. I was like, oh, good. I'm
Sweet,
glad.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
With this joke.
But like before that, I had another joke where it was about like me mispronouncing. Because again, I was vlogging. I was like, let me see what the kids do,
Yeah.
So I sort of did this thing and I obviously pronounced the thing. And I was sort of hamming it up a little bit and sort of pronouncing it, wrong when you're English and you're looking at some, words you don't understand. So I kind of then had this thing where I showed that clip and then kind of was like, oh, this is why I don't do voiceover. This is why I do voiceovers, because I don't know how to pronounce the name. But I was like, nah, mate, that's going out, because I take stuff out that just doesn't cut it.
Just doesn't flow.
Yeah. Or it feels like it's a forced joke.
Yeah.
So I think as well, like a good editing thing is you don't get attached to something. I say, the name of the airport took me 40 minutes just to research the pronunciation of it. Some like with that example where I was saying the name of the place, I'd done that thing where every sort of syllable that I spoke, like if you imagine it's Barcelona, for example, you put like Bar-sa-lo-na as you're sort of saying it live, and that takes a bit of time, right? Because you've got to kind of like figure out what frame are you saying it on, and then you cut it up and all that stuff. So I did it. So it took me again like 30, 40 minutes to like just make all of that work, and then I was like, nah, I'm taking that out.
It's not going to go in.
So I think a really important editing tip is just do not get attached to the time that it took you to make it.
Isn't it like the sunk costs in economics?
Where
it's like sunk costs in economics. Like if someone won't give up their business if they're still losing money because they've put so much money in, it's like weighing that up.
Yeah.
But actually, you're totally right. Don't get attached. Just because you have spent 35 minutes on it doesn't mean that you have to force it into a video where it won't actually add anything to that video. And
that's sometimes the issue with like directors' commentaries, directors' cuts, on movies and stuff. Typically, they're a lot longer, because it's just the director putting in everything that they filmed sometimes, or most of the stuff at least that they liked that they didn't make in. And unless you're really into the film, unless you're just like, gimme. But, it's like the original cut probably was the best because it cut out anything that wasn't essential to the story or the emotion or whatever. So I think that's a really important thing. And I kind of look at each bit and go, what's the purpose of this? And I think as well, like knowing what as a YouTuber, you need to know, what are you giving the audience? Is it entertainment? Is it funny? Is it informative? Are they learning something? You need to be hitting one of those three always. Because if you're not, then what value? Especially with travel, there's so much travel stuff out there. I have quite a simple style. Again, part of it's just because I'm too lazy to figure it out. But you don't need all of the flashy stuff. Some people, can make a career off that because they're excellent at it and they make it look good. So that's cool. But there's so much of that on YouTube that if you've seen one, you've seen them all. So things like information, like people want to know tips about a holiday, or they want to see what a place is like, or kind of. And again, it's amazing how you make these videos and you have this thing in mind. But I've had so many like people who use it for learning language. Again, because it's scripted, so I can subtitle everything. So all my videos are subtitled. So I have a lot of people who watch it just from a learning language point of view.
Really?
I've even I had about a year ago, I had an interview. It's a private group on Facebook, but I had an interview with a language group who someone had found me on YouTube, put them into their feed in the Facebook group, and they were using it as a way to learn English because of my excellent dictation.
Which is, but in a way, that is crazy that that's actually something you never thought that your videos would be for. Is now, because they are a solid amount of time, 40 minutes, you can really be at one with that conversation and you can pick up so much. And I guess because it is 40 minutes, you're using so many different and varied words.
Only a few of my videos are 40 minutes, just to clarify. The average maybe 10, 15. But
10, 15, okay. But some of them, the short films, that's where it goes to.
But like I once had a mother from America who homeschooled her child, and she would use my videos to show her other parts of the world. And I was like, oh, okay, that's like, I'm part of the curriculum now. Like, that's crazy, you know? So,
Dr. Suitcase Monkey.
Exactly. So, so, you know, you never know how your stuff is going to be used. But I think, you need to hit one of those. What's your objective and what are you giving the audience?
I think it's so interesting. When I was chatting to Harriet Noble, we were talking about her art page, where when she was getting the most amount of engagement was when she was giving back. And it's what are you giving to your audience which will make them want to come back? And that's kind of what I've hoped with this podcast, which is you're getting other people's viewpoints on how they've tackled the creative industry, which I find is interesting. But it's just trying to find what is your thing, which means that people feel like they're getting nourishment out of what they're learning from you.
Yeah.
Which I think is so key. And what I love is that even though you've had these 8 million views, you've got over 75,000 subscribers, you're doing this all on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Do you just kind of want to explain where that came from and what a holiday looks like with shot on iPhone?
Yeah. So again, I think like a good tip is like work within any limitations you have. So again, this wasn't a master plan at the time, but looking back, I can see how this is what's happened. So, when I just started filming stuff, that was what I had in my pocket. And so over time, I've kind of gotten really good with filming with it. And again, I'll constantly have people, even, with like the iPhone 11 stuff that I've been doing, loads of people thinking it's, a Sony or a Canon or something. So it's partly laziness for not wanting to learn a DSLR.
Yeah.
But two, we'll go back to the simplicity. Like I don't think I've ever had anyone say, well, this looks rubbish. This isn't good enough. I need better quality video. That's not a thing. So I'm like, I don't see that as something that I need to change. And it's kind of now become my thing. And even quite in my vlog ones, as opposed to like, I do some like guide ones, which are more just kind of like list videos and stuff. But the vlogs, which is sort of the meat and potatoes of what I do, which is like, here's just a travel story of us being on holiday and discovering this new place. I'll usually always kind of put in the intro, all shot on iPhone. So it's kind of become a thing of the channel. So I suppose as well, I suppose you're knowing limitations as well. And it's definitely got better than definitely when I was in the iPhone 5 days, because it didn't even record stereo sound. Now the new iPhone records stereo sound. So it sounds better. But, you can't have dodgy audio. Having some dodgy video is okay, but as soon as there's a sound or it sounds rubbish, you can't forgive it. So again, working around the limitations, it's like, well, especially in the early days, I was like, I don't want to invest any money in this because I'm just filming stuff because I like it. I didn't want to have to buy microphones, and then I can't stick it in my pocket. So then the voiceover then came out of that, again, looking back, because I was like, well, I can't use any audio that's on here, so I need to, and at the time, now I use a kind of a proper mic. But at the time, my first few videos, the Disney Paris stuff, I was just using my, the standard headphones that come with an iPhone. And it actually sounded all right. Like, even if I listen to them now, it's obviously not as good as the stuff I'm doing now from a quality point of view, but it's good enough. And I think that's one of the amazing things about being creative in this time is that, and it doesn't have to be iPhone. If you have a smartphone nowadays, that's good enough, and you can, if you've got an idea and you want to do something, you can just go out there and make it happen. Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, and probably motivating for a lot of people that they don't need to spend all this money to actually make something work. And actually, if you do have that storyline behind it, if you do have that content which is interesting, you can make it work with literally the thing you have in your pocket. But I do agree, audio is probably one of the biggest things where people pick up on it instantly. Most phones now have a good quality camera, but if you have audio which is a little bit off, people pick up on that, and they might even stop listening because of that.
Yeah.
I know that there's been some YouTube videos where I've started it and then I realized that the audio is just terrible, like it's peaking all the time, and that's when I'm like, okay, I'm done. I find it too frustrating to listen to this, whereas the actual content, it might be incredible. And that's where I think that if you're going to start spending money on anything, is trying to sort out the audio, because the visual is, if you're a good storyteller, it doesn't matter how the visual is, if it's semi-decent. But if you want to have something that is truly engaging for a full amount of time, that's when you need to get some decent audio. And it's really interesting that is how you moved into doing your voiceovers, which is now what you're known for. It's your iconic style.
That's my thing. And I also as well, so this is like, there's a movie or something where they're shot out of sequence, but then it came out at a wrong time. This is like that. That was a really bad intro to this topic. So we went to Dubrovnik, Croatia, and I think it was like the second or third video that I filmed that we chronologically went on holiday to, but it was about the 6th or 7th video that was released on the channel, as it stands now, because it was when I started, because it was relatively short. I hadn't filmed too much. It was just like some random clips. Again, I wasn't doing the thousands that I do now. And so when I looked at the footage retrospectively, I was like, there's no story here. It's just a random bunch of clips, basically, and it doesn't say anything. So I think it was when I did the first ones that I was doing the voiceover for, I'd say they were like, reviews of hotels and stuff like that. So it's stuff that made sense to talk over it. The first Japan video, the 14 days in Japan video from like 3 years ago, that was the first one where it was like, I'm doing like a full-on vlog. This is a holiday. It's not really a guide, but you will learn things just because this is what we do and this is what we liked, and so on and so forth. So that was the first time I put a narrative over the story. And so then after doing that, I think then I was then looking back on the Croatia footage, and I was like, oh, so now I'm kind of doing this narrative thing where I'm doing the voiceover. So then the voiceover allowed me to stick the story on top of the footage that I had and kind of fill in any blanks that I had. So that I think was probably one of the first sort of sort of things where I was like, I was kind of then creating a style, I guess. But again, all of this was totally by accident. But yeah, I just think it's kind of interesting looking back and going, that was kind of and I think the Japan one, that was the first time when I bought a new mic, because I was like, I want this to sound good. Yeah. So that was the first time I kind of started to see that as like, this is an important part of the narrative.
That's very interesting. And you were just saying that was before you started taking the thousands of videos. How many videos do you shoot now on your iPhone in a holiday to then bring into that storyline?
So the holiday we just came back from a couple of weeks ago, Vietnam, that was 10 nights, and I shot about 2,000 clips on that one. And when I did another 14 days in Japan video, so it's like the sequel to the first one, that's if I was going to say someone should watch one video, like that's my favorite thing that I've done, and the another 14 days in Japan one. Because it looks great. Japan's amazing. I think it's the greatest country to go to as a tourist. And it's a 40-minute monster. That video, 14 days, that was 4,000 clips. And then Vietnam, which was 10 nights, was 2,000 clips. So I'm trying to put it back.
Yeah, because it's getting out of hand.
It's getting out of hand. And that's the thing, I suppose, with the most important part. And even today, when it's starting to become, it's a part-time business now. It's making money, and I've sort of dropped some hours from the real job so I can kind of focus a bit more time on the creation side of things. At the end of the day, it's our holiday. So that's the most important thing. And one of the benefits of shooting on iPhone is I film it for a couple of seconds, 6 seconds maybe is that average. I stick it in my pocket and I move on, and then I film it. Like, I'm not planning anything. I'm not storyboarding anything. I'm not even really doing take twos of anything. The few times when I do ever film myself, that's the only time really when I'll film it a couple of times because I don't like it. I'm like, ugh. And then it's like, I'm not on holiday
It becomes
anymore.
a thing, yeah.
I'm like making this thing. So that's, again, partly why I don't do the bits to camera. Occasionally, it just kind of comes in because we're on the holiday. So, we're going to be in it. But yeah, so when I'm editing, like on that 4,000 clips when I went into Japan, in the 40-minute vlog I did, there was probably 1,000 clips that I used out of that. I do still have some more videos to come, which I can take from that. So I will probably use more than that, but it probably won't be more than 2,000 clips maybe that I use. So there's a lot of waste. So I probably need to figure that out myself and sort of try and be more efficient. But the problem is, again, that's the problem with not storyboarding something, right? Because when I'm there, I don't know what the story is until afterwards. And I'm like, sometimes if I'm arriving somewhere, you've got to film it because you don't know if it's any good. And I say I don't do take twos for moments. Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you find that trying to gain that balance when you are on holiday, there is that balance to be struck?
Yeah, it's again, so holiday first, and it's tricky. And in this day and age, like when we went to Santorini, that was the. I felt part of the problem because I'm a YouTube vlogger, right? And I'm like, I hated that I was part of this world that you just see everyone's taking selfies. Do you know what I mean? Everyone, it's the most Instagrammable thing. And even in the Santorini vlog, I kind of had like a couple of minutes where I talk about this particular thing where like it's the Instagrammer's paradise basically because it's so beautiful. But people, if people are doing it for business stuff, and some people you could tell that this is their thing. So it's like, okay, well, if it's your business, then cool. But everyone's sort of become an Instagrammer. Do you know what I mean? And it can subtract from your holiday because you see this view, and the first thing you think of is, right, how am I going to get a selfie? I need to wait for these people to move and get out of the way and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I, like everybody, has that urge, but because I know I'm doing the YouTube stuff, that's kind of the number one thing. But I always, like if you're at a concert and someone's favorite song comes on, you see a lot of phones go up at the start of the song. I always try and film like the second chorus, so I can at least be in the moment and sort of enjoy it and take it in. And then right, okay, I'm sort of, I've got this song now, it's happening. Chorus number 2 has come along. Let me kind of film the end of it, just because it's really important to be in the moment and not lose that. If you're being paid to go on holiday, then that's a different thing, which I'm not. But then it is a full-on job. But for me, it's holiday first and be in the moment and not let that overtake things. And I say if I miss a moment, then I'll just let it go because otherwise I'll be taking 5,000 clips, which I can't be doing.
Now, I think that's a really interesting point, which is that you talking about payments on holiday. How do you find the balance between, because you get AdSense at the moment from YouTube, and that's pretty much your sole income from the videos you're making. Yeah. How do you find seeking out maybe paid sponsorships, or what's your viewpoint on that, and how do you think other people could go about it? And again, it can just be your viewpoint, and it means that, like you're saying, where you make videos, some people might say wrong, where the style you make, which isn't as viewable as maybe some other people who are like doing it straight to themselves. Like, how do you find that side of things? Yeah,
it's a good topic. So I've turned not I say. I've been offered a couple of. There's only one thing that I've done that's been paid, and that was in January. We got invited to go to a place south of England called Arundel, which is like a long weekend away place. And at first, when they were like, we'll pay for expenses and stuff like that. And I replied. My first reply to them was no, because what I thought they wanted was me to make a YouTube video out of it. And because the videos that I've got on there, I say it's Japan, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, Santorini, like pretty, big places. And then if it's just like, here's a weekend in some random place in England that no one's ever heard of, like it would reek of I've been paid for this, so and I don't want to lose credibility by putting the time, energy, and effort into something that might not get viewed very much because it's fairly niche, I guess.
Yeah.
But having integrity is super important. So I initially said no, and they said, well, actually, we don't want you to make a YouTube video out of it. We actually want your footage. So go and do what you normally do and just film it. So I filmed loads of stuff, but I just gave them the footage, basically.
That's interesting.
And the only thing that was attached to it is just do a couple of posts about it, and that was it. So that was great. That was perfect for me because it's the editing that takes all the time. I can just film in real time while I'm there. So that was great. So that's the only thing I've done that's been sort of paid and comped. I was offered a week away on a boat on a yacht somewhere, but that just didn't happen because Jackie's not really into being on the sea. And I think that was it in terms of that. But I've been offered loads of sponsorship stuff where people want me to, plug something in a video, a product or whatever. And I've probably been offered, like, I can't think of it. One was, when they're like, hey, we love your channel. I don't know why they're American. We love your channel. And we think you'd be a perfect fit to sponsor these. And it was like sports underwear or something. And I'm like, you clearly have not watched my channel. There's nothing about me.
Finally, the sponsors have come for my sports modeling I've wanted to do.
Exactly. But no, I've got approaches like some travel stuff like Pocket Wi-Fi. It's quite a popular one. And I've always said no, because as soon as you do that, I suppose the rule that I have in my head and the rule that we did also with the Arundel one is this something that I would pay for myself? And generally, actually, in January, which is when we went to Arundel, we usually will go somewhere in England, because January is the most depressing month ever, right, in England. Yeah. So it's like, let's go somewhere kind of semi-English countryside, just to have a long weekend. So we do that normally. Yeah. And it's a really nice little town. We were there for like 2 nights and it was a really nice weekend. So when we looked into it and I was like, well, I don't need to make the video. So then that doesn't, that's not like a thing I have to put on my main channel. So then it made total sense. So it's like, would I use this product normally? And if the answer is yes, then cool. And if and whenever it ever gets to the point where people are offering us... Oh, actually, no. We were offered a weekend in Wales. It was the Welsh Tourist Board approached us and they wanted us to do a weekend in Wales. And we said no because it was like... I think it was like... It wasn't summer. So it was like September, October, if I remember correctly. And I looked at other YouTube videos which were definitely sponsored because they'd put in the link that I was told to put on there. And again, they didn't claim at any point in the video that this was sponsored, which is something that bugs me as well, is people don't, you're supposed to be upfront about this stuff. Yeah. But they'd obviously done it previous years as well with other travel vloggers and stuff because they were using all the same hashtags and everything. But we said no because I looked at it and it looked lovely, but it would only look lovely if it was really nice weather. And I was like, it was going like September, October. And I was like, if it rains, I'm then stuck with having to make this video. And put it out. And put it out and be like, this is amazing. If I could guarantee weather, then it might have been nice. But I was like, I don't want to be in the situation where you're, once they've paid you, you then are kind of, beholden. You're very much obligated to create that content. And one of the nice things, and I said, the Arundel one's the only one I've had an experience to it, but, this is, I guess, how it works is that, they're always like, you don't, just be honest, basically, which hopefully they believe that themselves. But yeah, I just want to be honest with the stuff that I do. And I think other people that I've kind of followed, I know that one of their sort of tips is to not go for the sponsored stuff early. Like, do it when it's a good thing to do. Like, do it as if it's something that you would have done anyway. Yeah. But you just happen to be, it's comped or whatever. Because the second you start just doing stuff because it's free, then once you've lost your integrity, then it's all out the window. And it's that long-term detriment to what you could actually have it could be, like you said, that you've been going since 2012. Imagine another 8 years from now where it could be. Yeah. And as well, I think this is one of the differences between YouTubers and Instagrammers is that I follow, because I do quite a lot of, so London is probably, because we live here, so London is probably the most the city that comes up the most, just because we're in London, right? So we always do a lot of stuff, and I've done quite a lot of like restaurant ones, like cake cafes in London and Japanese restaurants and brunch restaurants and stuff like that. And I've got more that I'm kind of, we go to whenever we go to, and then I just sort of stick them all together and put them in a video. So we'll always keep doing that. So I follow a lot of people on Instagram who are like London foodie people, and I've got some really good recommendations out of them. But there's loads of people now on Instagram who, I don't know if they're making money out of it. I don't know if there's any revenue in it, but basically they're getting free dinners every night, basically. And if you can go to, you can get invited to a restaurant, you can go there, you can eat for free, you can take some nice pictures of it, and the people I follow usually, sometimes they'll be like, oh, this is, it's all right, but it's not great. So they are being honest, with their thoughts on it, but you can do an Instagram post and then it's gone tomorrow. Whereas on my channel, I've got like 35 videos on the channel. I say because I do like 10 videos a year from last year. So I'm not pumping out videos all over the time. So if when you put a video up on YouTube, it's there forever. And I see it as a big stain on the channel if I've got this one video that's there that I had to make. Whereas in Instagram, it vanishes off your story after 24 hours and we can all forget about it and move on. So I feel more responsible. Like we went to, I'm trying to do I've got a kind of cafe one, sort of like a bit of a follow-up to the cake cafe, but kind of maybe some cakes.
Cake cafe, what a video. It made me want to go out.
I've already done, so it's amazing the stuff that gains traction. Like the cake cafe is one of my...
It's huge.
I shot it, again, this is like iPhone 6S days, I think, when I shot it, but it's still... It's just always going, that video. People are always watching it. And again, this is why I'm a bad YouTuber in the sense of like, I should be like, right, the money's in the cake videos. Let's make cake videos. But I wasn't interested in making cake videos for 2 years. And now I'm like, actually, it's probably time for a cake video. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just feeding the algorithm, which actually is something we should talk about next. So that's interesting as well. So we went to a cafe this Sunday, and it got like 4.5 stars on Google and TripAdvisor. So we're like, well, it must be really good. So we went there, and I was like filming it, and it was good. It was good. I'm not interested in good. If I'm putting my name to this cafe, I'm like, guys, you need to go to this cafe. I think it's really good. Like there's a lot of good stuff in London. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we lived in a town that had 4 cafes, then good's great. But there's so much good stuff in London. And so about 3/4 way through it, I just stopped filming. I was like, well, this is no point. And as well, I'm paying for these meals. Do you know what I mean? Like again, I'm not getting any of this stuff comped. So there's more restaurants I think that I've filmed that I've not put out on a video than I've filmed and then put out on a video. So yeah, if anyone's listening who has a great restaurant and wants to comp me some free food, that'd be great.
I will take the cupcakes.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? But that's important to me. That I was going to do an Instagram post about it, but I was like, I don't even want to like just put it out there as the thing, because people don't need to know about the details of this. But since you're on this podcast talking about it, I think it's a good thing to talk about. That we went there, we paid like 30-40 quid, and then we were like, that's all right, but. That's not interesting. Yeah.
I think it's interesting where in London there's quite a high bar for most things. So if something's not blowing you away, it's quite hard to justify being like, other people should come to this, because there are places where they will blow you away. And it's trying to find that balance, which I think is really interesting. You spoke about other Instagrammers that you kind of follow. Who are you really liking right now that you think... If you would recommend people go and check out, along with Suitcase Monkey, which is on YouTube,
of course.
Who else would you recommend that you kind of follow? And also, how do you feel about, because I know some podcasters who don't listen to other podcasts because they find it influences what they talk about, and they want to keep it like 100%. But how do you find that as well? So who are you liking?
So in terms of who... it's more I follow hashtags for
on YouTube,
London, on Instagram, right, for finding stuff out. So I'm a total meat eater, but there's someone, I think it's Little London Vegan, she's called. She's awesome, and I say she's mostly posting vegan. Well, she's only posting vegan stuff, but I just find her feed quite interesting, and I am thinking of maybe one day doing a vegan video. So as like what it's like to be a meat eater, going into these vegan places. So she's the only person who really springs to mind. But yeah, there's not really a particular person.
But you find hashtags is what you find is key to finding
there's
it.
one, I found a few, I think it's Angela Likes Food, I think is the name.
Right.
I think that's it. And I've got quite a few good recommendations from her. I think that's it. But I'm not really a social media, like if I didn't have the YouTube channel, I'm not really a social media person. Like, again, like, on my stories, I do like one story a week maybe, and I post like twice a week. It's become a really good way to have proper conversations with subscribers, instead of having chats in the comments and stuff. It's been really good to hear from people with proper questions, and questions that they can't just Google. People asking me questions that they can Google. I'm very patient, but I think I'm going to have to start being like, dude, you just Google this. You don't need to ask my opinion on this. But some really good questions and stuff like that. So that's really good. So it's really good from that point of view.
Yeah.
But if I could live in a world where is YouTube social media? I guess it is, but I differentiate YouTube, and maybe it's just because I do it, from Instagram and Facebook. I don't know what you think.
I would say that it depends on what you use it for. So I use it to learn a lot. So I use Instagram to learn a lot from other creators, and I use YouTube in the same way. So I think it's all down to how you use it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I do know some amazingly creative people who are using Instagram in the same way that YouTubers are using YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think there's always that balance.
Yeah.
But what would you say is hashtags that you follow that you would say, so rather than people, I think it's
just like London food, London cafes.
And you find that because for a lot of people, they don't even know that you can follow hashtags.
Yeah.
So if you search for like London food, London cafes, you can tap follow, and then regularly you'll
because
see.
Then it shows you, feeds from all over the place.
Yeah.
And then also, like, once I might follow a few restaurants. So say if I find any restaurants, I'll then probably follow the restaurant, just so I can kind of see their stuff. And then if I kind of keep seeing them, I'm like, well, actually, this looks like a really nice place. And that was how I found. I had a unique dining video on London, which is about places that are a little bit different. So like dining with cats, dining in what used to be an ex-Victorian toilet, dining in a place where every meal has chocolate in it. And one of them was there's the cheese bar,
right?
That's opened up. So it's like, think of like Yo Sushi, but with cheese, basically.
Oh, snap!
It's the world's first conveyor belt cheese restaurant.
Is it just called the Cheese Bar?
Pick and Cheese.
Pick and Cheese. Oh, what a name!
So there's two. So that's the new one. There is actually a cheese bar. It's the same company in Camden, where it's more. So the Pick and Cheese is more like cold cheese. So you got like your crackers and your pickles and stuff. And then the cheese bar in Camden, like near Camden Market, is like more like hot cheese. So it's more like cooked stuff. So we've been to both, and they're great. But I love cheese, so the Pick and Cheese one, the conveyor belt, is so cool. I love it. So I found that through Instagram, and now I follow them. Which the problem with following restaurants, once you've been there, it's just like more cheese. This is what this cheese looks like today. But they change the menu and stuff, and they add new things. So it's kind of good to keep in touch that way, I guess.
Hey, if there's a new cheese invented, you'd be like, hot damn, let's go over.
Well, they've just started to do this fondue cheese pizza.
What?
Yeah, so there's an update for you.
Now looking at YouTube, which is, I assume, your main source of content, where you go to find. I know that a lot of people say after Google, YouTube is the second most searched place. Mm-hmm. How do you find other YouTubers that maybe inspire you, and how do you strike that balance between being inspired but also not creating similar content to them?
So I realized about 6 months ago, I'm not inspired by people. I just get jealous of them.
Oh, really?
I'm like, I want to be like that.
Really?
So the person I was alluding to before when I was talking about people are too happy on YouTube is Chris Broad, who runs the Abroad in Japan. He does a podcast, but it's a YouTube channel. He's got about 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. He's my favorite YouTuber because he's got that sort of British deadpan delivery, which I kind of like. But he makes informative videos / sometimes documentaries about things in Japan. He's an English guy, but he's lived in Japan for like 8 years or something, and so he makes quality content, and it doesn't look like most other travel vlogs that I see. So I really like him. So anyone who's definitely thinking of going to Japan, if you've probably ever typed in Japan into YouTube, you will have seen his videos. He's the Japan vlogger, basically. In terms of like being inspired, so I find it's hard to. I don't watch that many travel vloggers. Most of the stuff actually I watch on YouTube is more just about my own interests. Like I'll watch loads of Nintendo stuff and all that type of stuff. But the problem I have sometimes with travel is so one of the things that started me wanting to kind of become a bit more serious with the travel vlogging is that when I would search for these videos, I would see stuff. Again, it's great. They got more followers and views than me, so they're right, I'm wrong. But I would see stuff I'm like, this is for like 12-year-olds. Like, this is ridiculous. It's stupid. And so one of my I'm
learning so much about you, Paul, in this. It's
I've sort of recently taken this off as a thing, but I used to kind of brand the channel as like travel vlogging for adults was kind of one of my initial things. And it was just because, let's not be like, oh, I'm in Barcelona. So that was kind of where I was coming from. And so the people that I watch, no one I think does 100%, like there's no one I think who does 100% of the time everything I want to see all the time. So it's a case of sort of pinching certain bits. So Abroad in Japan, I'll say my favorite travel channel. Other people where I take some things from, and I don't like everything they do, but I take some things from. Currently Hannah, she's really good. She's an Australian who lives in Japan as well. She does the most kind of vloggy type stuff, but she's a really good filmmaker, really knows how to tell a story. She does a lot of really good stuff. A guy called Craig Adams as well. Craig spelled with a K. He's an American guy. He recently has gone down sort of a slightly different path, but he's a really good filmmaker as well. But what those two do quite a lot is they have a lot of, and I'll put this in parts of my video. When I talk about pacing, I'll kind of have you kind of big opening, and then it might kind of go to sort of slow piano, romantic music kind of stuff. They often will start with that. And it's just you're used to go on YouTube. And so it's really nice, relaxing stuff. So I've maybe borrowed a little bit from them in that sense. But Craig has started to do this thing, which isn't, I would like to be able to do this in life, not in YouTube, but he does a lot of like hiking and stuff. So he has done some 20-minute videos where it's only him hiking on his own. There's not a word of dialogue. It's literally just him walking for 20 minutes. But he films it in such a way, and the music is so perfectly chosen. That's just a really good watch. It's sometimes when you've seen a few of them, it's a bit like okay, but again, like I've taken a little bit from that. And
I think people pushing the boundaries of different areas, and being like, "Will this work?" And they try it, and you're like, "Oh wow, that." And
he had. I think it was.
You can be so unique with what you do.
I think the first time that he did one of those videos, I think it was Iceland. I think that was like, I remember him saying that was his first video that got over 1 million views or something, and it was totally. I say no, not a word spoken. Is Harris and Johnny Harris, a couple who Johnny Harris, if anyone knows, follows Vox, Vox, Vox.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys who works for Vox, and he does a Borders series through the Vox YouTube channel.
Okay.
He is amazing. He does voice to camera stuff. He does voiceover stuff. And I could never do this, but he does like proper like After Effects animations and stuff, and it's like unbelievable. Like he loves maps, which is why the show's called Borders. So it's about borders around the world and how we got here, or what's the story, what's the friction, anything like that. He does really good. There's different seasons that he's done. Definitely check out that really high quality stuff. And Iz Harris, who's his wife, I actually found Iz first, even though in theory Johnny's kind of got more of a reach through the Vox and stuff. But she's really good. She's very down to earth, really good talker. She's done travel stuff. She's done like tech guides and sort of tutorials and stuff. She's really good. I'm sure there's probably someone I'm missing, but those are probably the ones where I like watching it. But outside of that, I think one of the things where I found my style is it was more watching things that I didn't like those sort of 4 or 5 I mentioned. I've only really sort of found them in the last couple of years. So when I started making stuff, it was more I was just seeing so much stuff that I was like, I'm not interested in this. And again, people like the people of the channels. That's why they follow the channels, because it's the people in there. But for me, I'm not interested in that. There are some YouTubers that I follow because of the people, but I'm interested. I've searched for Barcelona, for example, or Japan, because I want to learn about that place. That's the most important thing. So when you're scrubbing through the thumbnail and their faces in every single frame, I'm like, this might not be the video for me. And I think that's why then, you obviously need to have a person behind it, but it's with those people I just kind of mentioned, they were focusing on the place and everything. And then I kind of started to, grow into them as a person. And now I'll watch videos, generally speaking, about whatever they do, just because I'm interested in them. But it's always the place that's kind of the thing that gets me there and the start.
And I think that's like you're saying, how you've kind of carved out your style and your unique way of making your short documentary travel videos, which I like. And yes, some of them are short, 10 minutes. Yes. Not all 40 minutes.
No.
Don't be afraid to check out the channel. I guess as a parting one, which I think is so important, especially for YouTube, but also just social media in general, which is if you're relying on it for an income, how do you find dealing with something like the algorithm? And what is the algorithm to you? How do you tackle it? What's your thoughts on that?
Actually, this could have been a quote that I would have used at the start, actually. So a good quote that I heard was someone was saying that they were sick of making content for an algorithm and not making content for a human being, which is really important. Everything has an algorithm, but just specifically for me, in terms of how YouTube works, I make content because first of all, I want to make it, because the second when I start getting bored of it or I'm doing it, like one of my most popular videos is a video from Malta. Again, that's always just constantly getting views, even though it's like almost 2 years old now. Someone I remember messaged me like, oh, when are you going to do another Malta video? And I'm like, well, I have nothing else to say about Malta. Like, I went there, it was great, I filmed it, and then that's it. So I'm not like, oh no, I need to now make like a tips video where I'm like, top 10 things, which I've done with some, but that's because when I went to say Santorini, I was like, right, I've got the vlog. And then afterwards I was like, actually there's a lot of practical stuff which I didn't want to bog down in the storytelling vlog. I'm like, oh, maybe try this transport and this bus and everything else. And so then it made sense to do another one. And so for the places where you've got this kind of vlog tips thing happening, it makes sense. But for Malta, I was like, everything I needed to say, I said in that vlog. So I'm not just making a video because I know the algorithm will do well, because that video is getting loads of views anyway. Yeah. And so it'll sit quite nicely next to me. So I'm trying to make videos for me and what I like. And again, this is kind of going back to what I was saying at the start about, going with your gut and trying. The one thing that Chiaki said to me really early on, and again, as an early YouTuber, I say you're going to put a lot of stuff out and people aren't going to watch it. And as long as you know that it's the only thing you have total control over is that it's good quality content. And I remember Chiaki saying, if it's good, eventually people will find it. And I'm sure, again, there's so much content. I'm sure there's a lot of good content that doesn't get found. But that's always the thing that I've stuck with, that the only thing I have total 100% control over is that as long as I'm happy with it and I can spend all that extra time editing it and doing all the other things, then eventually, even if it gets, like with the first videos that I put out, it took ages and then suddenly, and the same with the Japan one, the first Japan one I did, again, like it was 6 months and I watched it and then suddenly it just shot off. And even like at the weekend, I had 70,000 views over Saturday and Sunday, which is almost double of what I would typically get on a normal weekend. And that's just because a couple of my older videos just suddenly, for whatever reason, just started
popped off again.
Yeah. And you can't, because the algorithm can always change. So if you make it for today, if anyone did know what the algorithm is, then it might change, and then it's all for nothing anyway. So as long as you're making good content, then everything else should come. With YouTube, there's loads of analytic stuff you can do on YouTube, and I'm aware of it. Like I know how to use the analytics and stuff, but I don't put too much sort of weight behind it, because a lot of the times you'll look at the stats. It's like, well, this doesn't add up. This video should be doing better or worse, judging on whatever I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
The only real two things you need to worry about from a YouTubing point of view is the click-through rate. So how many people are seeing your thing and then clicking on it. And then for me, the most important one is then the watch time. How much are they watching of that video? Clickbait videos don't really work on YouTube anymore, because let's say you've got the most amazing thumbnail which promises something amazing. If you're not delivering on that, especially within like the first 30 seconds, or at least teasing that that's about to come, then people will click off it.
Yeah.
So then after a couple of days, YouTube's going to go, actually, loads of people are clicking on this, but then they're not watching it. So it's no good. I don't do any clickbaity stuff. I wish my morals would allow me to do some clickbaity stuff, but you see, like I watch, I follow a lot of tech stuff, and there's so many thumbnails where you've got the product there and they're like looking at it like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And then in the review, they're like, oh, it's great. But it's just there because people are more likely to go, oh, he must hate it. And then you
with controversy, yeah.
And it really winds me up. So I'm trying not to do any of that stuff, and I just kind of just put nice photographs on my things, and I just say, this is 3 days in Malta.
Yeah,
that's the title of my video. Just because I don't know, like I'm trying to be see through, and hopefully it's a long-term strategy, I guess, but hopefully over time people kind of trust that that's what it is, and
it's building that trust, which I think is really key.
Yeah. So click-through rate and watch time are the only things really that are, at the end of the day, really important. But again, like you can get this in YouTube analytics. You can get into this relative attention area, and you can literally see on a graph where people are skimming through or cutting to, and it's really dangerous. Because imagine if you're Quentin Tarantino, right? He's like, he's great. He knows what he's doing, yeah? Apart from Hollywood, I wasn't quite sure about that. But apart from that movie, everything was great. It was a very good movie.
I was going to say, I actually really like that movie.
It was great. But for a Tarantino movie, I'm expecting 11 out of 10. It was 9
Sorry,
out of 10. It was 9 out of 10. But Quentin Tarantino isn't watching the scenes, and going, they didn't like that scene, so I'm not going to do those types of scenes anymore. Which in theory, that's what YouTube is. There's a Creator Insider, I think is the name of the channel. It's run by people who work in YouTube in the analytics department. So any YouTuber needs to follow the Creative Insider guys, because they're literally explaining these are what all the metrics mean. And so in theory, you're supposed to, and again, I've watched videos of people who have suggested this, where you look at that and you go, right, people didn't like that and that, so I'm not going to do any of that. And I've even heard of people on purpose saying wrong information so that it encourages comments of people going, oh, I think you'll find, actually. Because it gets better engagement. Yeah. And especially the last one, like, that is playing the algorithm, right? And that is, you're trying to get engagement. And I hate the same thing on Instagram where people are like, tag your favorite friend who would love this place, or and they don't care what your thoughts are. They don't care what your thoughts are, but they're doing it. And so I don't know. I get more surprised at the people who fall for it and they're like, oh, Steve, I really like this. I'm like, no. So you can do this, but it can then get in your head when you're editing, and you're like, I feel like this is what should come next, or I should do this, or I should do this. But I don't know. I think you can only go off what you like, because the second you start to then go, well, last time I had this scene where I talked about this topic, or I had a scene where I didn't have any voice and it was just music for a minute and people came or they didn't come, then you really start messing things up, I think, and you can get overwhelmed. There's too much information. So I think it's important to use it a little bit, but I take a lot of it with a grain of salt and just keep making stuff I'm happy with, and eventually that should hopefully win out.
I think it's very interesting through everything we've gone through. It's kind of like, it's just going back to your gut. is exactly what we said at the very beginning. It's all about your career and just going with your gut. Yeah, that's really good information. Take that information and then go with your gut on what you think is relevant from that information. When it was the other YouTubers you like take what you like, but also go with your gut about what you don't like, and that is then your vision, and then people will draw to that because it is you.
Yeah.
I think that's so key for everything you've done, but also anything people want to create now, especially on YouTube or social media platforms. It's so saturated right now with people. It's unless you're incredibly authentic, it's going to be hard to get people who actually will engage with you.
Yeah.
But authentic in a way where you're giving back. I think that's the big things I've picked up.
I think another thing as well, and I'm a very patient person, so I'm always playing the long game. Even if I had unlimited time to edit these videos and put them out, one of the reasons at the start I was like, well, if I put out all these videos really quickly, I'm going to run out of content. I'm going to run out of things. I'm going on holiday, apart from the London stuff. It's going on holiday, right? So I'm not going on holiday every 2 weeks. So
I'm not loaded.
So I'm like, well, I need to spread this out, otherwise I'll have massive gaps of no content. And I did a London video. It was my first London video, I'm from the sort of my kind of new style instead of just a restaurant thing. And I had the idea of that. It's basically if I was on holiday in London, this is what I would say to do. And I'm saying this as someone who's lived here for 20 years. So that's the point of it. Because, again, you'd watch all these London things, and I'm the same when I'm in a foreign place. I don't know sometimes what I'm doing. I might go to the wrong places and that. So it's this is a local's point of view of what you should do in London. And I had that idea about 11 months before that video came out. And so I had a checklist of things, of all the places that I would want to go on a 5-day holiday, and kind of worked it out as well, how much time would you actually have to do these things. And then I filmed it over 6 months, 6, 7, 8 months. And then even then I was kind of well, I think I released it in March, April last year. And I was well, if I release it around about then, that's kind of when, it's summer, that's when people want to go to London, as opposed to maybe October, November and stuff. So, I had all the footage and I was kind of waiting for the right time of year to release it. And so I'm thinking long term, which I don't know how many people do that nowadays. It's all about instant gratification and instant likes. I've got about 8 videos that I could make tomorrow, because I kind of know what I'm talking about. I've got the footage and everything, but I sort of want to spread them out and also have them in the right order. I have kind of an idea of how I want to do it. And, for the London stuff, I want to sort of break it up. So again, it's not 3 London videos and then no London videos for 8 months. So sort of breaking stuff up. So yeah, I think kind of thinking long term is not something that people always think about nowadays.
But it's really key, especially I think because you're just hit by so much content that you feel like you need to pump out content every single day from the beginning. But actually, getting your foot in and really feeling out the place and how you are within that, I think is so key. And
I think as well, I say, I've done 30 videos, right, over 3-4 years or something. So if I was releasing those videos on a weekly rate, it took about 3 years for the channel to kind of, I think really you've got to be at 1 million subscribers before you're kind of right, I'm comfortable now. I can be at least assured that X amount of people will want to watch this, because not everyone's going to want to watch everything you do. If I'd have released those videos, exactly the same videos, but week after week, just because of time, I would have had so many videos that didn't go anywhere, that there is a chance that, even though I sort of say now, don't kind of, get worried about that. But, if you're spending a lot of time on something, it's easy to be well, why is no one watching this?
And get discouraged.
And then give up. So I was always if I just do it every couple of months or whatever, and I'll finish a video, and even recently, I'll have a week or 2 off where I'm just not doing it. So then when I come back to it, I'm right, I want to do this. So that, it's kind of, it's coming from a good place and not just getting out content. So.
Paul.
Thank you.
Suitcase Monkey.
It's been fun.
Thank you so much for coming on and just explaining kind of your journey. And I definitely think it's interesting seeing how there are different ways about going YouTube. There's not one formula. And going with your gut, I think, is the biggest thing I've taken from this, which is really cool. But yeah, dude.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
If you want to find Paul on any of his social medias, he is Suitcase Monkey on YouTube.
On everything. I think, I don't fully understand how Facebook works, but I think it's like facebook.com/suitcasemonkeytravel. But I think if you just search Suitcase Monkey in Facebook, I think I come up and not some random group that's been called Suitcase Monkey by someone else.
Nice. And if you're finding it hard to find him, which you shouldn't do, but look at my Instagram, which is Creative Catalyst Podcast, and that will have content that he's made, which you can then click through to find his work as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is officially the end of episode 8, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, picked up some interesting thoughts from Paul, and are excited for next Monday's episode. If you want to see more of the stuff going on, please go to our Instagram account at Creative Catalyst Podcast. And I hope this episode got some people to take their mind off all the stuff going on at the moment. I know it's helping me to stay sane.